Yo, yo, what's up, guys? Welcome. Welcome to today's live stream. I'm Jonathan White, and we've got some fascinating stuff to get into today. Hope you guys are doing well out there. And today, we're going to be getting into one of my favorite topics, which is ejaculation control. You're going to learn some secrets of ejaculation control, how to really master this as a man, and how to go to the next level in the bedroom. Okay. All right. Sounds good. Sounds good. Sound is working. All right. So, first of all, uh, announcing, you probably know by now, but my multi-orgasmic man 12-week course is open right now for registration. Complete guide to male sexual mastery, all the foundations and advanced practices of sexual kung fu to develop ejaculation control, non-ejaculatory orgasm, have sex for hours, and channel your sexual energy. So, find more information to that. There's a link in the description of this video. There's a link in my Instagram bio. And hope you guys are doing well today. Beautiful day here in Asheville, North Carolina. All right, so ejaculation control. A lot of men do not have control of their ejaculation. It's very normal for men to be premature ejaculators. It's very common. And before I get deeper into this, it's important to understand physiologically. And if you've been following my stuff, this is going to be repetition. Huxley Alex Xavier had sex for over 2 hours yesterday and 6 non-ejaculatory orgasms. Congratulations, bro. Crushing it. So yeah, see, guys, this stuff works. Well, it's possible. It's possible for any man to do this. So, nervous system. Let's talk about the nervous system, because the first thing we need to understand is like why is this an issue in the first place? This is one of our bodily functions, and like most people have control of their other major bodily functions. You know what I mean? But like when it comes to ejaculation, most men can't control this. So, why is this? And it comes down to our initial sexual experiences, which for most men in the current world is porn and shame-based masturbation, where you're hiding in a room just getting it over with quickly so that mom doesn't walk in and see you. So there's always this shame and this sense of like needing to hide it and get it over with quickly. And also porn completely disrupts your brain chemistry, disrupts your arousal response, creates an overstimulated response to sexuality. So basically, men develop a stress response to arousal and sexual stimulation. And it's as simple as that. It's a sympathetic dominant pathway. And someone here saying, what other animals hold their nut in? I think it's just the way we were made. Yeah, but here's the thing. You won't find other animals in nature that are ejaculating every day. Other animals have like a certain time period that's their mating period. Humans, we're going at it 24/7. So, there's a little difference here. And it's coming back to what I was talking about. The nervous system, the sympathetic nervous system. Essentially, if you have premature ejaculation, it means that you've wired your primary pathway of your nervous system that the way pleasure moves through your body is sympathetic nervous system response. Sharp, intense pleasure that builds to ejaculation. Whenever it's a stress dominant arousal state through that sympathetic nervous system, it's always bringing you towards ejaculation. And here's the big issue that men run into learning this stuff is that a lot of people teaching this stuff out there, teaching sexual techniques, they're teaching techniques that are still keeping you in the sympathetic nervous system, like muscle tension, squeeze your pelvic floor, things like this. These things are not addressing this issue. It's still using that same pathway. So, to overcome premature ejaculation and build stamina, sexual stamina, unlimited sexual stamina, when you get good at this, there's no end to how long you can have sex for. So the way to do this is to wire in a new pathway into your mind and body, to your nervous system, which is a parasympathetic nervous system based pathway of sexual pleasure. The way it moves through your nervous system. And of course, the parasympathetic nervous system is our calm, rest and digest response. We're more grounded. Things are under control when we're in it. Cortisol is lower. we feel at ease and we can handle a lot more sensation when we're dominantly engaged in the parasympathetic nervous system. So it's just important to understand, to kind of underlie the other things I'm about to share, that basically, because ejaculation is a function of your sympathetic, your fight or flight response, it's a tension response essentially. So the key to ejaculation control is to not have a tension response to sexual pleasure. uh, the most simple terms. Okay. So let's get a little deeper into it. It really is. Okay. The most direct, physiologically, how this manifests in the body for men, like a direct indicator that you have a stress response to sexual arousal and pleasure, is tension in the pelvic floor. Tension in the pelvic floor. Essentially, you were doing an involuntary Kegel, or you're squeezing your pelvic floor as a response to sexual stimulation. And a lot of men, once they become aroused, they automatically start squeezing, contracting that pelvic floor muscle. And of course, this is contrary to what a lot of people are teaching. They tell you to do Kegels. They tell you to strengthen your, if you have, like, there's this something you've probably heard is the key to ejaculation control. I made a post about this recently. The key to ejaculation control is having a strong pelvic floor muscle. A lot of people call this the PC muscle, which there's actually several different muscles involved here. And this is very misleading. It's very misleading. It's the misunderstanding here is that ejaculation control is about having a strong pelvic floor muscle. So you squeeze it and that blocks the ejaculation control valve, which technically does happen, technically. But what this actually looks like, from my experience, is that you're basically constantly right at the edge of ejaculating and you're using that squeezing just to barely keep yourself from going over. But you can't have like vigorous sex. If you slip up just a little bit, you're going to ejaculate. So that's what some people's idea of ejaculation control is like having to stop every 5 seconds. And that's not my definition of ejaculation control. That is just, you're still stuck in that stress-based response. So the manifestation of this, again, is pelvic floor tension. Almost all men have patterns of tension in their pelvic floor. Number one, because it simply is an area of the body that we hold stress in. Why right here? I'm not entirely sure. So that's the main thing, is just stress, holding your stress in your pelvic floor. A lot of men do this. I do this. I still do this sometimes. I still find myself just like squeezing down there. I'm like, what the hell? I don't need to be doing this. Relax, relax. So that's the main reason. The other reason that causes this is basically getting in the habit of doing this through masturbation and through sex. When I was getting into this work, I realized that when I was masturbating or having sex, and like in my teenage years, I was definitely masturbating by squeezing my pelvic floor, because once again, it engages the sympathetic nerves. There's literally nerves in that area of your body. When you squeeze those muscles, it sends signals through the sympathetic nervous system and sends the signal of build up towards ejaculation in your body. And doing that also makes you feel more pleasure. It's a more intense, sharp, sympathetic based sexual pleasure, but it's a build up towards ejaculation. So when you most people just develop this as a reflex. Most guys have developed essentially a reflex of squeezing the pelvic floor because the penis is being stimulated. It's similar, like someone's punching at you and you flinch, you go like that. It's kind of like that, but it's a little different here because it's like, what is it serving, right? Okay, so poor masturbation and sex habits, stress. Other things that causes tension are basically the muscles are imbalanced, because what's happening for a lot of people, because a lot of us spend too much time sitting down and don't exercise the muscle groups in a balanced way to develop like full body integration and strength. So what happens are certain muscle groups become very weak. Like you sit on your ass all day, your glutes get very weak. And then basically all these different stabilizing muscles, because the pelvic floor isn't a standalone muscle group. It acts in relation to the surrounding muscle groups, the abdominals, the glutes, thigh muscles, just the whole surrounding area. So what happens for a lot of people is the muscles that are meant to be stabilizing you, the glutes are a common one that become weak. So now the pelvic floor takes on the role as being a stabilizing muscle, which is not meant to be. So you'll notice like every movement you do, your pelvic floor is squeezing. So these are some of the causes of pelvic floor tension, because this is the main thing you want to be aware of when it comes to developing ejaculation control, is that this pelvic floor tension is driving you towards ejaculation. It's compressing your nervous system information. It's activating your stress response to create a buildup towards ejaculation. Whenever that tension's there, it's always a countdown towards ejaculation. You're always going to have to stop, wait, and continue. Which again, that's some people's ejaculation control advice. It's like, well, just stop, wait, continue, stop, wait, continue, and that's fine. In the initial stages, yeah, you're going to have to stop and pause, but eventually you want to not have to stop all the time. That's ejaculation control. So this really is, you have to start thinking of this as like you're an athlete. You have to think of yourself as being an athlete, and this may seem intimidating to some of you. It's not like you have to be an Olympic level athlete, but it's like, hey, you have to be aware. This requires training. This is a physical thing. It is a physical thing, and your body must be in a certain state of homeostasis to have a healthy sexual response. To have healthy erections, healthy hormone levels, all these, good energy levels, good blood flow, all of these are essential to have good sex. So train, get some decent exercise. At least go out and walk every day. Train in these practices that I'm going to be talking to you about. Exercise, move your body, stay healthy, eat healthy, drink water, stay hydrated, manage your stress. Make sure you're getting all of your essential minerals, vitamins, organic diet, don't eat processed foods. And, these things alone will go a long ways towards balancing your body so that you have a healthy sexual response and have a healthier, more clear mind, better brain health, better cognition. And this will help this mind body connection that is required for ejaculation control. So, someone's asking how to increase sexual stamina. I mean, I'm talking about this, but I'll get into direct techniques. Here's something that's very important to know. For a man to have good ejaculation control, you must have strong erections, like really strong erections. When the penis is in a half flaccid state, when it's not fully erect, kind of floppy, it is much more sensitive. Specifically, okay, so this is another important thing. If this is a penis, I've done this so many times. If my finger's a penis, the underside right here, under the head of the penis, this is an area known as the frenulum. And I know that technically men who are circumcised may not have the frenulum, but I'm just, using that term to describe this area. There's nerves here that connect into your prostate and send the signal to start that buildup of tension as a climb towards ejaculation. Because what happens the buildup to ejaculation is all this nervous system information firing, sympathetic nervous system firing, tension building around the prostate, and it hits a maximum capacity, triggers ejaculation, the prostate pumps, shoots out the fluid. You're ejaculating. Game over, son. It's all right. It's all right. It's not the end of the world, but you gotta wait for your next opportunity. So this region right here is basically the ejaculation trigger zone right here. When your penis is not fully erect, this area is much more sensitive and it will much more strongly trigger these involuntary contractions in the pelvic floor. So one of the number one things for good ejaculation control is to be able to have really strong erections consistently. And this would be a whole training on its own. Let me know if you're interested in the erection training. I will say that I've made some videos of this on YouTube, like how to optimize your erections. So check that out. And in the Multi-Orgasmic Man course, one of the bonuses you get when you sign up for it, registration's open right now, by the way. One of the bonuses you get is training exercises that I learned that are incredible for developing the blood flow in your penis, improving nitric oxide levels, which means better erections. Like I started having crazy erections once I started doing this, years ago. Okay, so I'll share some basic things though. For good erections, you need healthy hormone levels. You need healthy testosterone. Boost your free testosterone. So eat cleaner, get saturated fats, cholesterol, get plenty of sleep, get your vitamin D, get your zinc, magnesium, selenium, boron, these essential minerals. And also lower body cardio is really good for intensifying blood flow into the legs, which will help power up your erections. Okay. So, big, strong erections equals much better ejaculation control. Remember that. All right. So now let's get into the meat of this. Juan says, so you should squeeze PC muscles all the time. No, that is the exact opposite of what you should do. I never said I've been talking about, and here's another misunderstanding. For a lot of men to hold an erection, they have to rely on squeezing the pelvic floor muscles. If this is the case for you, it means you have some serious imbalances in your pelvic floor, and this is causing you to have very weak erections long term. So that's another thing. I'm actually glad you said this, because another way to improve your erections is to overcome these pelvic floor dysfunctions. When you have a balanced, relaxed pelvic floor, you shouldn't have to squeeze and hold tension in the pelvic floor to hold your erection. Again, if you have to do that, it means you have bad blood flow in and out of your penis. Your pelvic floor is messed up. Check out my pelvic floor stretch routine, 12 minutes on YouTube. So I personally, and this is what's ideal, is when I'm having sex, my pelvic floor is completely relaxed and I have strong erections. No squeezing. Okay? I want to make that clear. Do not squeeze your pelvic floor muscle at any time during sex, is my recommendation. So let me grab a drink of water here. Let you chew on that for a minute. It's hot today. It's like 80 degrees. It's a beautiful day. I'm thirsty. Been out in the sun all day. Okay. The main tools for ejaculation control. Here's the very practical level of this. Number one, you've heard this before, probably if you've been following me, but it's breath. But I'm gonna teach you how to breathe in a specific way. The breath, because when you're in a stress-based response, building up towards ejaculation, your breathing gets very shallow. I know this is like the most surface level, obvious stuff, but like it's still important as a foundation. This may be new information for some of you. So deep, smooth belly breathing, maybe about 4 to 6 seconds in, 4 to 6 seconds out. You want to be doing that consistently throughout sexual pleasure. And that's the foundation, because the breathing is going to keep your nervous system balanced. It also helps, like, breathing properly really activates your diaphragm. It also activates your pelvic floor in a good way that helps to keep everything balanced and helps to avoid this excessive buildup of tension down there. So freeing up the diaphragm. So do this right now. Place your hands on your belly, breathing in. And think of really like trying to inflate the pelvic floor. Like, notice how it almost like stretches a little bit as you really breathe in. Exhale. That is how you want to breathe during sex. Now you may be asking, like, okay, well, yeah, sure. When it's like calm, meditative sex, but like, what about when things are getting hot and heavy, Jonathan? I'm not going to be breathing real shallow then. Amp it up, but still keep that engagement. So it's like during sex, it might be like, So really, the whole thing is you want to feel your pelvic floor expanding with the breath. Work on that. You keep that breathing consistently throughout sex. Oh, you got it, son. You get good at that, like, you're going to go a long way with ejaculation control. So, Twan the Muse on Instagram says, also pulling your testicles away from your body because they move closer to ejaculate. Yeah, that's another one. Was like the like basic in every book tips of like pull the testicles away, stop and pause when you're close to ejaculation, squeeze the base of the penis. These things are good, but it's like it's the more advanced stuff, because you don't have to stop and do these things. Like, it works and it helps, but like when you get good at all this stuff, you don't have to rely on these other things that are like stop and then do this and then continue. You know what I mean? It's like we want to keep this. Oh, we don't want to disrupt the flow of the. You know what I'm saying? Okay, the breath. That's number one. Because the whole thing is you want to avoid any contraction in the pelvic floor during sex. And that will be difficult initially. So you have to practice this. What I recommend is you practice pleasuring yourself. Pleasuring yourself and focusing on staying relaxed. And notice as soon as you start to squeeze, you stop, say, okay, pause, continue, focus on this deep breathing, really inflating the pelvic floor, avoid the contraction. You can also play with reverse Kegels. A reverse Kegel is it's almost like you're trying to squeeze out, not squeeze, you're trying to gently push out a poop, but not like 100%. I'm actually dropping a video on how to do reverse Kegels properly soon. So, uh, but basically, it's like this feeling of like pressing outward, and that is the opposite motion of the opposite engagement of the squeezing. So you can play with a gentle. The key word here is gentle reverse Kegel to control ejaculation as well, and that will avoid that contraction in the pelvic floor. I'm going to share another pro level tip here, which is drive your sexual movements with your glutes, gluteal muscles, your butt, big old booty muscles. So try this right now. If you're sitting down, so look at me. I'm bobbing up and down. I'm bobbing up and down a little bit. You know why? Because I'm rhythmically pumping my glutes and it's moving me up and down. That is how you want to drive your sexual movements. So breathing deep into the pelvic floor, gently pumping the glutes. You'll have to experiment with different levels of intensity. And that again helps to kind of pull nervous system information that would otherwise build up in your pelvic floor. So pump the glutes, breathe deeply, keep your pelvic floor relaxed, and you get good at those things. Oh, you got it. Remember, guys, this isn't going to happen overnight. This takes consistency. It takes training and practice. Like, I'm sharing this stuff, but like, you have to do it. You have to do it consistently. It's probably not going to happen on day one. Don't expect to oh, I heard this technique. I'm going to try it tonight, and it didn't work. It must be a dud. You got to practice it consistently because once again, you're creating a whole new pathway in your nervous system of how you respond to sex. It's going to take some time to build that new pathway, but you're consistent with it. It's only a matter of time until boom, you're a master of it. Okay. One other thing I'm going to share is that really what, these things are still kind of basic foundations. It goes a lot deeper. But another, really the meat, the heart of the sexual Kung Fu training involves channeling, directly moving your arousal out of your genitals. Now, the breath, the glute pump, these things help to do that. But the most direct thing is to be able to develop your connection of mind and body to a point to where you can literally affect your physical body by engaging your mind in a certain way. And when people hear the term circulating sexual energy, that may seem super vague and super like woo-woo, but it really is like your mind affects your body. Like if you hold your mind in the palm of your hand, for example, you just hold there and feel it, you'll start to feel it warm up. I mean, it's scientifically validated if you do this. Like if I put my mind in my knee for 5 minutes, the body temperature in that area is going to slightly increase. So our mind interfaces with our body. It interfaces with our nervous system. The mind and the body are actually are not separated. This is an understanding of a lot of the Eastern traditions. It's like your body is your mind in a certain sense. Okay. So you use the mind to move that arousal because again, you're having sex. Oh, it's getting high. You're like, yeah, it feels good, but like, oh shit. We all know what that pressure feels like. It is a pressure that starts to build and it builds to a maximum point. It seeks a path of least resistance to move out of. And for most men, that path is out the penis. The problem with that, you ejaculate, you lost your charge, you have to recover. By creating another pathway in the body, the most common one in sexual kung fu is the microcosmic orbit. Up the back, down the front, you have this huge container. So during sex, you're moving your mind through that pathway, you're guiding it. And again, this is going to be very difficult for most people in the beginning because it doesn't usually work right away. You have to train this quality in your mind and body. And for me, what really amplified this process was training in Qigong practice. Qigong is phenomenal practice. Kind of like it's kind of like the yoga of ancient China, but it's basically, of course, it's Qigong. It's cultivating Qi. It's movements, mind-body connection to start to connect with your life force, your vital energy, and affect the energy of your nervous system as well. And so when you have a consistent practice of this, all of a sudden you can start to move your sexual energy. You can move your aroused energy. And literally during sex, it's like, okay, there's a buildup there. Well, let me bring it. Oh, now it's going up my spine. Ooh, now it's in my brain. Now I'm having a brain orgasm. Holy shit. That's the advanced level because then during sex, like, oh, it starts to build up, you just move it. It's building up, just move it. Circulating sexual energy. So when you practice all these things, the deep breathing, keeping the pelvic floor relaxed, redirecting energy into the glutes, channeling the energy, um, you become a master of ejaculation control. But then it goes, there's a lot of questions. I will get to your guys' questions here in just a moment. Um, let me pour myself some tea. Well, gynostema, fine herb. But ejaculation control is still more than just physical engagements and even mental engagements in a certain sense. Ah, because another very common thing with premature ejaculation is performance anxiety. A lot of men are very timid in sex. They're afraid of disappointing their partner. They're afraid of embodying their raw, true sexual nature. There's this fear, there's this shame that arises, and this creates an anxiety around sexuality. It's a fear of being yourself. Ultimately, it's a fear in because intimacy really brings this out in us. So that's the next level is like this it really is like a people pleasing pattern ultimately, but we call it performance anxiety, things like this. And that's some of the most important work as well, is like being able to essentially step into sexual confidence. Because for a man who's a premature ejaculator, you're going into a sexual situation. It's like, oh, I'm with this, attractive girl and I really like her and things are going well. Then obviously she wants to get sexual, and then the anxiety sets in. It's like, what's going to happen when we have sex? What if I ejaculate immediately? And then that story starts to um, become louder and louder in your mind. It becomes louder and louder in your mind. And then you're no longer there present in your body. Your nervous system's going into fight or flight mode. You're stressed out. You often can't even get an erection in that frame of mind, or if you do, it may be a little bit weak, and your ejaculation control is difficult because you're not you don't have a rock hard cock. And so, and there's also like this fear of like taking leading the sexual dynamic, stepping into it really is this primal animal nature. Because speaking to men and women here, women in general want to be led by their man. They want to feel safe, feeling supported by the man, that he's like in control. He's like making the decisions. He's setting the container of the whole thing, and she can just lay back and surrender. And that's when she falls into her most orgasmic nature. So when you're in that role of like, I'm going to fucking bend you over the couch, baby, with her consent, of course, then it's just like, it connects you to that primal animalistic nature. And that's when I personally have the hardest erections, when I'm most just like, oh, fuck yeah. And there's this confidence because you're controlling the situation, you're guiding the whole thing. And so it's this confidence, being able to lead the situation, being able to be that strong masculine pillar of like, I'm acting on my truest desires, and like I'm fully just like going for it, baby, without doubt, without hesitation. And she feels greatly supported by that. So ultimately, it's about, on a practical level, being able to get grounded, because it's going to happen. It's going to, if you're going to have to face this thing. I went through this myself, where this engaging in sex with my partner brought up anxiety and uncertainty and fear. And if you focus on that and just, you get paralyzed, you get crippled, the sex isn't good, you're disconnected from your partner, they feel it, you ejaculate quickly, it doesn't turn out well. So that becomes your moment when, instead of going into the anxiety, you step into grounding. You and that's what these techniques are for. That's what the breathing is for. That's what these physical things that you do, they keep you present within your body. Because guess what? When you lose track of your breath, when you lose that low, deep breathing into your pelvic floor, you've lost your mind. You've lost your presence. You've lost your focus. You're in worry. You're in anxiety. You're in withdrawal. You're in your feminine, actually, as a man. So the opposite of that is getting back into your body and saying, fuck yeah, we're going to do this. And another thing that builds confidence is simply understanding how your arousal response works because you've trained for it. Because you've had enough practice that you say, okay, when I start tensing up, I do this instead. I redirect the energy. I relax my pelvic floor. I breathe deeply. I get out of my head and into my body. I breathe deeply into my balls. So all these things, you practice this enough, and now you know what to do in the situation. It really is like it's like martial arts. You know what I mean? Like at first, it's like, oh shit, it's intense. People are punching you and kicking you. You're like you're getting tense and like shutting down. But after some training, you know what to do with that pressure. You can be confident, and you're like, I know how to redirect that strike that's coming at me. I I'm not afraid of the pain. I can hold myself and I can breathe and just just go for it. And with training, you get better at it. You get better at it's not that the stress lessens, it's that you know how to handle yourself amongst it. You upgrade your nervous system, you upgrade your body and your capacity to handle the stress, to ground it and build a container to hold massive amounts of arousal. And what this also means is being able to hold massive amounts of pleasure and be able to experience non-ejaculatory orgasms. Boom. How does that sound? Okay, so that's it. That's it. You do these things, you're going to be a master of ejaculation control. So practice, train. I know it's a lot, but this is advanced stuff. Again, you got to be an athlete. This is think of this as athletic training. You gotta do the practice, be consistent with it. So I'm gonna get to you guys' questions, but I just want to take this time to mention that once again, if you want to go all the way into this stuff, what's going to save you the most time, the most effort, and give you the quickest pathway there is my multi-orgasmic man 12-week course, which is a complete guide. You know, how I was mentioning, um, if you want to be able to manage your arousal and be able to move it through your body, you have to have an open system and a mind body connection that allows you to do that. And for me, Qigong and many other men, Qigong is the most effective tool to program the quality of your mind directing your arousal through your body. So the course is a complete journey of clearing old patterns, clearing this old programming, opening up your body, rebalancing your nervous system, learning how to breathe properly, learning how to get grounded, and learning how to move your sexual energy, balance out your pelvic floor, learn how to completely develop ejaculation control, and charge up your whole body with sexual energy so you experience transitioning into the non-ejaculatory orgasm-based pathway, that parasympathetic pathway, and how to do this with a partner as well. So all that's in the 12-week course. It's a massive tool for transformation. Again, registration for that, it's open right now. It's closing tomorrow evening at 9 p.m. Pacific. So you've got just over 24 hours to get in. There's a link, my Instagram bio. There's a link here on YouTube. You can find more information on that page. But yeah, it's going to be life changing. And congratulations to all of you who are already in the program. You guys are going to rock it. Okay. Always awesome guys that are doing this work. It's always great to meet you. Okay. I'm going to answer some questions now. So put your questions in the chat box. Drinking my Jiao Gulon Gynostema, a delicious tonic herb from China. Oh. I'm going to China this year. I'm going on a China trip, going to Taoist temples, the places of where the immortals hang out. It's going to be fucking crazy. I'm super pumped. So that's happening later this year. China. Okay, Yasif S says, what should I listen to during a non-ejaculatory orgasm? I hear 432 hertz or nothing. Some suggest erotic or calming music. I mean, you can listen to whatever you want. I personally listen to Norwegian death metal. No, I'm just kidding. I don't really. Whatever you want, whatever you enjoy. It doesn't have to be 432 hertz specifically. I know there's this whole thing on that, and there's some truth to this, but I don't want to go into this too deeply. But basically, it's like what's more important is like the intention. Someone's energy when they're creating music, it doesn't matter necessarily what it's tuned to because the sound wave is just a carrier wave for a consciousness. Sound carries consciousness. So whoever's creating the music was their consciousness, whatever they're feeling, whatever they were thinking is going into that. So, it's something interesting to be aware of in general, I suppose. But yeah, it's whatever. Sometimes my partner and I play some like nice meditative music. Sometimes we're playing some like sexy R&B. Like, yeah. Sometimes it's like bird sounds or ocean sounds, and sometimes we just open the doors, the windows here, and listen to nature sounds outside. Venkatesh, it says, I'm not lasting more than 2 minutes. Please help. Well, follow everything and it's going to help you, son. You can do it. Any man can do this. It's just, are you committed to going all the way with the training? That's really what it is. David Elliott Jr. says, does not having an orgasm for a week really give you more energy? Well, it's not so much having no orgasm for a week, it's not ejaculating, because ejaculation and orgasm are not the same thing. What I'm promoting is non ejaculatory orgasms. But yes, I mean, try it. Go a week without ejaculating. You tell me, like I know for a fact, for me it does, but you tell me, try it yourself. The first time I was like 23 or something, and I went 4 or 5 days without ejaculating. I was like, holy shit, so much more energy, so much more testosterone and like focus and willpower. It was very obvious from the very first time. Venkatesh says, many times I'm catching myself clenching the pelvic muscles without being aware of it. Don't know why my body is always stressed out. So yeah, I explained a lot of why. And this is extremely common. And this is what, this is showing you have a hypertension response in your sexual center, in your genitals, in your pelvic floor. And this is causing premature ejaculation. So you address this. I shared a lot of information about this, and my channel is loaded with stuff about this. And it's a huge focus on my course, is getting out of this response into a relaxation response. Because here's, I kind of touched on how a lot of people promote this, like, yeah, squeeze the pelvic floor muscle, and that's what's controlling ejaculation. And there's, it's like fighting tension with more tension. And usually those types of techniques, you're still just like constantly on the edge of ejaculating. It's just like, oh shit, at any moment I could blow. It's not really in control. It's like you're riding a wild horse on the edge of a cliff, you know? But with what I'm talking about, reprogramming your body to have a parasympathetic pathway of sexual pleasure instead of a sympathetic pathway, then it's in a certain sense effortless. It's much like, that's when you're just like fucking going to pound town and you don't feel buildup towards ejaculation. I mean, I was, I was doing this last night, and I'm just noting, I'm observing myself like, wow, this is really interesting. Like, 15 years ago, I couldn't have imagined doing this. Yet here I am. I mean, maybe it's weird that I was singing this during sex. You know what I mean? But it was just this moment of like, wow, this is incredible, because there's no buildup, and I'm like, I was, going nuts, but like I was very lucid in what was happening in my body, and focus is a big part of this as well. So when you master this parasympathetic based pathway, it's like there's no buildup towards ejaculation. There's only like, oh yeah, the deep eroticism of sex and the pleasure, and it's fantastic. I mean, you feel like a god at the end of that. What can I say? It's how men were meant to be, and you can reclaim this. Eddie's sharing a good point here. Eddie's saying, I find I can fuck a long time with feet on the floor. Makes sense. Yeah, this is another pro tip is do it standing up. Put your partner on the edge of the bed. You're standing up, kind of a wide horse stance. Open your pelvis and go to town. This helps. This is a good position for engaging the glutes more, like I was talking about. But having your legs on the ground and you're like loaded with your body weight, it helps redirect pressure and tension out of your pelvic floor, and some of it goes into the legs. And in a, I suppose, an energetic sense, you get a lot more grounding because your feet are on the earth. You're vertical. The force of gravity engages a certain pull of chi, and it's a lot more grounding. So basically, you stand up while you're having sex, you're going to last longer. Huxley, Alex, Xavier, this is Tool. Listen to Tool during non-ejaculatory orgasms. I can see that. Sue Kundalini says, I teach Tantra and work with sexual energy. Even for a woman, I have way more energy in general when I harness my sexual energy. Fantastic. Glad to hear you're doing this work. Yeah, I mean, it's sexual energy. It's our creative, juicy energy. It's powerful. People who cultivate it, they're more alive. They're more creative. They're more just like, there's a glow, radiance in the skin. You can smell it. Santiago's got it. Huxley Xavier's put that bitch on a stump and hump her in the woods. Yeah, man. In the woods, in the natural environment. That's like my preferred situations. Like in nature, ooh, in the wilderness, it's the best. Nostalgia says, does this practice also create DHT? As someone who fights hair loss, how does this affect it, please? I'm not 100% certain of this. I've heard different theories about this, but there isn't a ton of research and like real proof evidence as from what I've seen about like any relation of like semen retention, more non-ejaculatory focused, and DHT. As far as like um, conversion to DHT. So I don't know a ton about this, to be honest, but all I know is I've got a decent head of hair, you know. Of course, I have good hair genetics. You know, I'm probably never going to bald. Look, I mean, I say that watching 5 years, I'm like fucking. We'll see. But based on my father, my uncles, my family members, I believe I have good hair genetics. So yeah, I don't know. I don't know. I don't have a good answer to this question. What I do know though is that I know some men who were having hair loss, and then they started practicing semen retention. It reversed. They grew their hair back. So there's that. Aleva says Jonathan for president. 2028 bitches. I'll be there now. All right. Okay. Royov says, hey, Jonathan, what's the difference between sex god and multi-orgasmic man? Is sex god still available? Yeah. So these are kind of my two biggest, most in-depth courses currently. They are quite different though. When I first released Sex God, my intention was to basically recreate multi-orgasmic man. But as I was creating the course, especially like based on the needs of men that I was working with, it ended up going in a very different direction. Of course, Sex God's also very focused on sexual mastery, but I would say that Sex God is about more so masculine development and mastery, masculine sexual and like personal masculine development. Whereas multi-orgasmic man is a complete sexual cultivation system. So it's more so along the line of like Taoist practices, systematic training in sexual cultivation. And I teach different techniques in multi-orgasmic man and sex god. There's a little bit of overlap, but they are completely different trainings. And honestly, if uh, if you're committed to going all into this work, I'd recommend doing both because it's going to be a very deep path of progression. I teach different qigong practices, different exercises in sex god than I do in multi-orgasmic man. So just they're so again, multi-orgasmic man is sexual energy cultivation and of course sexual mastery. Sex god is more so like masculinity, masculine development and sexual kind of masculine empowerment. So that yeah, there's a difference. Hope that's clear. Okay. There's a question here. Can you control if you are being sexually harassed by a man at your young age? If you're being sexually harassed by someone, you should probably get some help and support and, stay away from this person, get a restraining order, whatever. You should probably take legal action if you're being harassed from someone. Okay, Roy always says, does orgasm without ejaculation make someone more balanced than someone that is only on semen retention? From my experience, yes, because sexual pleasure and sexual orgasm, I feel, are very important to our being. It's important for our mind, our body, our spirit. Sexual pleasure truly is. I mean, this is a big thing, a big focus of the Taoist practices is like And many traditions working with sex in a more holistic, conscious way, because there is a deeply healing aspect to sex and orgasm. Intimacy with a partner, intimacy with yourself is very powerful. Not to mention, it stimulates the endocrine system. Having sex, being aroused, stimulates your endocrine system. It keeps you young. So I have no desire to withhold from sex or sexual pleasure. That's why, years ago, I remember when I was first getting into like yoga. This was like 2000. What year was it? 2011 or something like that. And I was reading about brahmacharya and this path of like celibacy and all the benefits of it. I'm like, oh fuck yeah, this sounds great. And after about 3 or 4 days, I'm like, oh, actually, this isn't gonna work for me. And that's why I really vibed with the Taoist practices. It's because, hey, it's not about celibacy. It's not about like trying to be this holy, so pure and like, blah blah blah, which is usually just an illusion, right? And it's about like, hey, I'm in a human body. There's nothing wrong with sex. There's nothing, yeah, there's all this programming around shame and stuff coming from religions and societies and things. But ultimately, sex is as natural as eating food. It's natural. So like you might as well do it in a way that brings you the maximum benefit from it. So yeah, I think you'll feel much more balanced, because otherwise, this is the common thing of like men doing semen retention without skill. They're just suppressing themselves. They're just like forcing this energy not to express is what they're doing usually. Like if you're doing retention without being able to circulate the sexual energy, without having something to put it into, without allowing it to move, it gets stuck, it gets stagnant. And what happens is you often just become like super frustrated and angry. You become a pressure cooker just ready to explode. You become more emotional, more volatile, and just like not a fun person to be around a lot of the time. Or you're so successful. I've worked with some people where this was the case as well, where you suppress it so successfully that you literally completely lose libido. Like I worked with a guy who like completely lost his libido, could not get it back, couldn't get an erection, it was just gone. Like, so yeah, sexual kung fu is about balance, baby. Yes, my courses are online. Is Dr. Dow says, hello from South Africa. Best way to slow down ejaculation. Well, I covered that very comprehensively at the beginning of this. Go back and check the replay of this live, and you'll hear what I spent a while talking about. Okay, here's a question with the MOM with the multi-orgasmic man course. Can I increase my penis size? So here's the thing with that. I know this is a very common question. It's a very common concern for men, and it's also a very commonly marketed towards thing. I used to teach practices that kind of the standard, like stretch your penis, um, jelking, all these things, because I was doing them for a period of time in my life. And I was teaching them as well, because I did get some like minor penis growth from them. But I later realized that these are extremely dangerous practices. And like people do use stretches to to make their penis longer. But what doesn't happen is they often don't get increased blood vessel growth along with that. So like they get like floppier erections. And for the majority of men, there's just like you're not going to be able to grow your penis bigger for the majority of men. It's just like I know that this is a thing again, people like sell to and like try to, but it's like you have to look at where this is really coming from, which for most men is insecurity. I don't there's probably there's probably not many men on the planet that wouldn't like be happy to have a bigger penis, because we're just so programmed around this, like, oh, you should feel, look how tiny your dick is, you should feel so worthless. And it's a big complex for guys. It really really is. And the majority of the time it's completely unnecessary. What's more important than your penis size is how erect your penis is, how hard your penis can get, because that's what really, for a woman, can hit her pleasure zones, is a hard erect penis. If you have a really floppy penis, it's not gonna do much. So that's the most important thing, is having an erect penis. And that's what I teach in the course, is how to power up your erections, son. Okay, someone science master is asking me, do you look at women on here anymore? Models, many women do OnlyFans here. No, I do not spend my time fucking oogling at social media booty pics and things like that. It's just fucking it affects your brain very similarly to watching porn. Just like dopamine hit, like you just get stuck in this weird virtual reality of overstimulated. Is no, no, I don't have time for that shit. Okay. Master Moves is asking how to deal with unwanted homosexual thoughts as a man. Okay, this might be a slippery one. I might offend some people. I don't know. We'll see. Hopefully not. Um, I mean, the whole. I think the biggest thing here is like, why is it unwanted? Nothing should be suppressed. As far as like what you're feeling, like whenever there's this part of yourself that's like trying to make itself seen, and you're just like burying it down, like it it. eh, Well, it's you not being honest with yourself. I'm not saying like, well, this actually means you're gay and you should go be gay and have sex with men. Like I'm not coming to that conclusion, but I'm just saying like first of all, obviously you have this first of all, there's a judgment. There's a judgment of something coming from within you. And I understand there's a lot of like, religious, societal, all kinds of things around this. I'm not here to judge anyone. I love all you guys. I don't care I don't care. Whatever it is, I don't care. Like we're all fucking humans. We're all just trying to do our best in this damn place. You know what I mean? Like I don't care. I don't care what your background is, your belief system is. I don't care. I will respect you equally. I know I say like very polarizing things because I have my opinions too, but ultimately like I love people. I respect you. We're all just fucking doing our best down here. Who knows? Who knows what's right? You know what I mean? We're doing our best. Um but yes, just like allow yourself to just feel this. Okay, I have this desire instead of being like, it's wrong, it's bad. Because when you put this negative charge on it, you put the story on it, you put a judgment on it, and it ultimately becomes you attacking yourself. And you'll walk around with this guilt and this shame and feeling that you're inherently a bad person. So get rid of that shit. Just be able to fully explore whatever it is that's coming up, whatever it is, like be able to just, okay, there's that. Is this like I'll share something. When I was in like I was pretty young. I was like 14 years old. I discovered the I discovered prostate pleasure. Sticking my finger at my butt when I was masturbating, stimulating my prostate because I had the most intense orgasms I've ever felt. I was like, holy fuck, this feels crazy. And I'm 14 years old, and I was like, does this make me gay? Does this mean that I should be like into men? And I like was like, hey, maybe I am. And so like I literally like looked at gay porn. I was like, maybe I'm gay. And then I looked at gay porn and I was like, no, like I don't actually get anything from this. Okay, I'm not gay. I just like prostate stimulation. So like I just threw a bunch out there, but like, hey, this is something I experienced, and there was no judgment of it. Like I mean, I even came from a religious family and stuff, but it was just like, hey, like okay, let me explore this. Nope, nope. I'm very attracted to women and women alone, so okay, that's it. There was no like avoidance of it. So like I processed the whole thing very, very quickly instead of, that like, yeah. So basically, like, you know, just observe it without judgment, without like having to tell a story behind it. Just like, that's it really. Someone says two guys and one girl is still gay. Okay. Okay. I didn't say anything about two guys and one girl, but all right. Fantastic. Daddy Morpheus says, I learned to go through the ejaculation phase without spasming, but it requires immense relaxation. And the trick is to focus your energy in your brain. Yeah. So this is still sympathetic genital based orgasm. And that's different than what I'm talking about. Like the non ejaculatory orgasm I'm talking about is like, um, it's different. There's no like build up towards ejaculation. Like, yeah, there is non ejaculatory orgasms where you do the build up towards ejaculation and then kind of redirect at that point by relaxing, or like some people use the PC muscle squeezing to just squeeze life out of it and avoid ejaculating. Yeah. And I've taught versions of that techniques and I've used them at points. But what I'm really talking about is a different thing entirely to where you're building up this full body state of orgasm. And it isn't a 5 to 10 second thing. It's like it's a state that you can sustain for a long period of time. And a whole period of time, the whole duration of sex becomes like an orgasm. Sue Kundalini is saying de-armoring the prostate can make a huge difference to your erections. Men hold trauma there. Once released, blood flow can be restored. It's just another part of the body that needs release. Oh, absolutely, absolutely, and that's actually extremely helpful for men. Um, One of the things that helped me the most overcoming these tension patterns in the pelvic floor was doing internal pelvic floor work through my butthole. I used a prostate massager, jammed it, well, gently inserted it up there, and and it makes you really aware, like, oh shit, like yeah, that's some serious tension there. So that can be a really great way to release tension as well. Michael, or is it Mikael, says, "Hey Jonathan, congrats on 100K. Thank you. Guess I'm not going to go on my angry YouTube rant about the fact that my channel got demonetized years ago. They won't send me a plaque for getting 100K subscribers and all kinds of other bullshit I put up with. But this is the age that we're in. Big tech controls things. They control the information we're seeing. They control, it's this virtual reality world that people are living in, where like literally someone's sitting in a room typing, oh, let's tell them that this is happening in the world. We'll get a reporter, we'll hire an actor to read from a script. They'll tell it out. People hear it in the news and they believe it's the truth. Oh shit. Like it's the fucking world we live in. What do you do? It's okay. At least I'm here. At least I'm here live talking to you guys and I haven't gotten taken down by now. It's miraculous within itself. So, which by the way, I set up a Rumble channel and I've got a Twitter, or X, it's X now, that I have as well. So, if this gets taken down, you can always find me on a little more uncensored platforms. I'm like, there's fucking I don't spend time on Instagram at all. Like I don't spend time on social media. Like I don't scroll. Like I just don't. I like to live a reality based life. You know what I mean? Of course, it's a good place to connect. I'm sharing with you guys all that. Social media has its benefits, but anyways, and like it's like the explore page or whatever on Instagram. It's like straight up porn. It's straight up porn. I'm like, how the fuck is this shit getting, you know, promoted by the algorithm and my Instagram's getting taken down like all the fucking time. They're not showing my post to my followers, all the fuckery, but we know. It's all right. It's all right. Okay, angry social media rant is over. They can't stop me. Oh, right. There was I didn't get very far on that. Mikhail's asking, do you feel more magnetic around people after having sex? I always feel more confident and magnetic around people after having non-ejaculatory sex. 1000%. 1000%. I feel like a god after non-ejaculatory sex. I mean, the first time in 2013, I had like non-ejaculatory masturbation where I'm like playing. I had like Montauk Cheese book, and I'm like playing like, oh, let's draw the energy up instead of ejaculating. And like I went out into the world after that, I was like, oh fuck, like I feel good, and like people responded to me differently. I had this confidence. Yeah. Okay, another question from Michael says, I have heard some people say that the testicles power up the kidneys and the kidneys power up the eyes where your energy is projected. Do you have any thoughts on this? I mean, I've heard different things, I've heard similar things. My understanding as far as like, the Taoist cosmology of this, the Chinese medicine cosmology, is that the Jing, our water element, our Jing, first manifests from the Mingmen to the kidneys, and then from there into the or into the perineum, and then into the testicles. I've heard different versions. I don't fucking know. Like, is it really that important? I don't know. But yeah, I've heard. It's funny. Just this morning, I was working with someone. We're doing a practice of connecting the testicles to the eyes, because I've heard there's a connection there. But again, it's these things where it's like it's theoretical. I don't have like a tangible, like, oh yeah, I really feel like my yuan qi crystallizing into the postnatal realm, and then it forms my kidneys, and oh, it moves to the perineum. What is it? The din or the lu? I forget the alchemical space where the gene is stored in the perineum. Then now it's in my balls. Like I don't know. I'm not to that level of sensitivity yet, I guess. So I more so like act on like what's practical? What have I felt? What's tangible for me in my own practice? Okay, we're getting a whole gay discussion on Instagram. Man, it really some things just really trigger people. It's entertaining. It's entertaining. Just like how things just like set people off. Sometimes I do these, you may have noticed like okay. I have a confession, okay? Sometimes I post very, very polarizing things, and it's almost like partially a social experiment to me just to like see how like reactive people are. You know what I mean? Where people get into these like program scripts and they regurgitate information. And I do this too. I do this too. We're all fucking human, but it's like it's interesting. You know what I mean? We're all just we're still just kind of animals. We're doing our best. But coming back to the testicles and the kidneys, the testicles and are part of the kidney system because in Chinese medicine, uh, the kidney system is a whole system of organs: kidneys, adrenals, bladder, testicles, ovaries for women, reproductive organs, bone marrow, the fluids. It's the water element, the fluids of the body. Yasiev says females absorbing our energy. Can you talk more about that? I feel like they know how to absorb others' energy. I am losing my energy through social media like Instagram. I can feel my energy draining. So a couple different things there. Like, are you talking about like females on social media? You feel they're draining your energy, and so it's kind of a two-way thing. Like, yeah, here's the thing: with like these different, yeah, women have this magnetic quality, and a lot of them know it, and they do, and yeah, they use it to like to draw in the man to pull his yang energy into them. And if your man's just you're if you're sitting there on Instagram scrolling through the shit, like you're freely giving away your energy. So it's like, it's who's at fault here? You know what I mean? I'm not sure if this kind of direction you were asking him, but yeah, females absorb energy. I mean, the yoni is it's a suction. It's a portal. It pulls in and also it births out as well, creates. Um, So for the man, it's like, you have to you have to be able to hold yourself to not be overly pulled, so to speak. You've got to be able to be, have your sovereignty and have your direction and to be strong in yourself, I suppose. Okay. S Blake 87 is asking, do testicles shrink as we age? Does our semen volume decrease? For a lot of men, it does. It does happen. And there's various contributors to this, but I think well, the myth the myth that we're told, and so people believe, is that, oh, as you get older, naturally testosterone levels decline. But it's kind of bullshit because it's not necessarily physiologically wired into us that that's supposed to be. Why this happens is because stress, toxicity, the body degrades over time because you don't take care of yourself. Testosterone levels on average now are like half of what they were, 50 years ago, 60 years ago, something like that. Our grandparents had double, at least double the testosterone levels that we do. Why? There's a lot of reasons. There's many reasons. There's many reasons. An obvious one is toxicity in our food supply, our water, the air, the fucking clothes you put on your body. It's everywhere. It's unavoidable. Xenoestrogens, phytoestrogens, GMO fucking foods, processed food, sugars, eating soy and shit like that. A lot of causes, and just a general like men being more programmed to be nice guys now. Like femininity is being programmed into men now. Men are being pulled out. Like masculinity is being demonized, and men are kept away from this in their young years now, so that they basically become women pleasers. They learn like how to please their teachers, who are women, their mom, their dad's busy working, or they don't have a connection to their dad at all. So they never learn healthy masculinity. So makes you have lower testosterone as well, like just acting more feminine as a man. So there's many factors here, but you can keep nice, healthy, big old balls well into your old age. I mean, we'll see. We'll see. We'll see how I do. I'll send you guys pictures when I'm 70 now. I'm like, look at these bad boys. So yeah, this just reminded me when I lived in Maui. This was years ago. This was 2015, early 2015. It was a fun time in my life. Very free flowing spiritual adventure in Maui. But every Sunday there's a there's a nude beach, little beach. Was it McKenna Beach? I think that was the name of the beach in Maui. Every Sunday there's like a big party on this beach, a fucking hippie paradise, nude beach, beautiful Hawaii. There's whales jumping out of the water in the distance. You go underwater, you can hear the whale sounds. There's hippies playing drums. People are smoking weed, passing around. People are on drugs. Everyone's naked. I mean, yeah, it's fun. It's a good time. But there's this guy. He had the biggest balls I've ever seen, and they hung down like a foot. And he would just wear this sash around his waist, just these big old balls. He'd stand there just like dancing, moving to the music, just these big old balls, just like whoom, whoom. I'm like, that guy's balls didn't shrink. Okay, we're going some interesting directions today. Yeah, I don't know if this is still happening, but if you're ever in Maui, go to Little McKenna Beach on a Sunday. It's a good time. Okay, moving along. Okay, someone's asked B by Walls asking basically how important is physical health and premature ejaculation. Okay, I'm working on losing weight, but I still have a long way to go. It's definitely important. It's a big piece as well because the healthier your body is physically, the better it can manage stress. Like when you're super unhealthy, you're putting garbage in your body. Your body's already like, you know, stressed to the max on many different levels. So the more you can get yourself to be healthy, you'll manage stress better. Your nervous system will function better, be better regulated. So it is an important part. Like basic health is very important. And yeah, you're talking about losing weight. Like, yeah, getting rid of excess body fat is great because body fat stores estrogen. So the higher your body fat is, the more estrogenic you are probably going to be. Like back in, it was a couple of years ago, I bulked a little too hard and I got a little heavy body fat. You can see my videos back then. I was a little more filled out. And when I started cutting body fat, my T levels rose, baby. Chosen One says, "Do you still struggle with corn?" Oh, like porn. Yeah, yeah. We have to censor things. We have to censor things. Do I still struggle with it? He says, "I can have streaks for weeks, but I still edge for a bit, then snap out of it. Does it get better?" I haven't I haven't voluntarily gone on and looked at porn since I can't remember. It's been years. It's been many years. The last time I was ever like doing that with any sort of consistency was 10 years ago, easily 10 years ago. It's been a long time. So yeah, it's does it get better? The whole thing is you simply start choosing not to do it. It's always a choice. There's no magic fix. Like, yeah, there's things that help that make you less likely to want to do it, like balancing your dopamine levels, doing more real life activities, less time in front of the screen, you know, exercising, natural, balanced dopamine release activities. But ultimately, it's a fucking choice. You're sitting there saying, "Oh, well, it would be easy and give me a short hit of pleasure to go on fucking OnlyFans right now." And you observe yourself doing it and you say out loud, "No, fuck that. Where is that going to lead me? Was I really glad that I did it last time? What about the time before that? Has there ever been a time I did that and then later that night I was like, oh, I'm sure glad I got up on OnlyFans today. I feel great now. I feel so like, no, you feel like shit afterwards. You're like, why did I do that? So like, don't do it anymore. You got to see beyond the just the right now. You got to see the bigger picture and bring that in whenever the decision's there. Okay. Aleva says, how often do you hold live retreats and where? I live in Europe. I would love to do a Europe retreat. I'll put it together one of these days. I can't say when, but yeah, I was hoping to do a retreat in June here. Um, I will be putting together some retreats here in the US this year. I'm definitely going to be putting together different like workshops, like more like casual things, because I know not everyone can like commit to doing a 5-day retreat. It's more expensive. It's just there's a lot of cost to it. I know. But what I'm looking into doing is booking out like event centers, like smaller event centers to do like weekend workshops, just something to make it like super uh, accessible for all you guys. You know what I mean? So I will keep you guys updated on that. But yeah, I want to do way, way, way more stuff in the real world with you guys. Meet you guys because you guys are awesome. What can I say? Monster says, do prostate orgasms go to waste though? Does it lower your testosterone and attractiveness? No. Well, first of all, you shouldn't do everything like, oh, am I going to lose my attractiveness? Are people going to be less attracted to me? It's a people pleasing pattern. Your greatest priority is what does the other person perceive me as? If that's how you're making your decisions, where do you think that's going to get you in life? You're never going to feel fulfilled. So, important lesson there. But the prostate orgasms, where it's like yeah, if it's a prostate stimulation on top of an ejaculatory orgasm, yeah, it's an ejaculatory release. You don't want to do that all the time. But there is non-ejaculatory prostate orgasms. I made video on this, and they're fucking powerful, credible. It's like a psychedelic trip and like the most intense physical pleasure you've ever felt, all rolled into one. It's crazy. Um, those do not lower your testosterone. They do not create a refractory period. It's completely non-ejaculatory. Chosen One says, do you ever feel like you microdosed MDMA on long streaks? Well, it's. I mean, I felt like that at various periods of time for sure, but it's not like I have to go 100 days, 200 days, 300 days. It's not so linear. At least it's never been so linear for me anyway. That's why I don't obsess to like, oh, like people make these videos. Here's the time cycle of semen retention. On day 15, this happens. On day 30, this surely like it's a lot of it's horseshit. Like it's just like when you're in it for the long term, it's more just like, you know, well, you'll see. You'll see. It's more about like you understand all the different things that are affecting you. It's not all just are you ejaculating or not. I've been doing this for 10 years, guys. I've been practicing semen retention for 10 years. I'm not saying I haven't ejaculated in 10 years, but I've been doing it for 10 years. So like a lot of like you know, the initial like sparkle and shine and like, oh, I'm getting superpowers from it. Like, yeah, it makes you healthier. Everything functions better, but it's not like, anyways. It's great. It's fantastic, but it's like it's not a cure all and a fix all. And if you just do semen retention, everything in your life is going to be 1000%. You'll ascend into spiritual realms of whatever. It's not really. What makes me more so feel like I microdosed MDMA is the practices I do. And my practices work better when I have a good reservoir of energy to work with. When I've built up that jing, when I've built up that semen energy, then I'm doing my qigong, I'm doing my internal alchemy practice, my meditation. Like that's when it's like, oh shit, that's when things get real. Yeah, yeah. I see your comment. If if you are interested in hosting a sexual kung fu event, if you're interested in like helping me put together something somewhere, because I'm still new to this. Like a lot goes into putting together live events. There's like there's a lot to it, and like sometimes I need help with these things. So if you live somewhere and you're like, hey, I've got some connections here, I have this amazing space, like let's do a retreat here, like send me an email, send my team an email, and we'll talk. Or DM, whatever you got, just get in touch. All right, guys, just a few more questions. Kind of might not be able to address all of them here. Thank you, Market Madre. Been hitting the gym hard. Ray Sean says, man, the stagnant energy is a real thing. I started to feel depressed during semen retention and I didn't know what was going on. Suddenly, testicle massage helped tremendously. Yeah, you've got to keep the energy flowing, 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 flowing. Energy wants to move. When it gets stuck and stagnant, it's not expressed. It doesn't feel good. You get stuck in your life. You don't feel good. Gigi says, "Bro, you literally changed my sexual life." Fantastic. I'm glad to hear that. That's what I do. What I do is because you guys need to know this, because I found this stuff completely changed my life. And there was a moment in 2017, I'm at Michael Wynn's retreat studying this stuff, and like, holy shit, I need to teach this to the world. No one's really teaching this stuff. And men, especially like my generation, they need these tools. And it was just like, oh, like, yeah, that's the path I need to go on. And then, here we are. It's been fantastic. So I'm glad to hear that, because yeah, it's this is really for you guys. Robert Wixom, what's up? Southeast Iowa. James says, science says the more orgasms, the healthier the prostate. Thoughts on prostate longevity? This is complete bullshit. Um, if you look at the studies, there's so many other things that were not taken into account. You know what I mean? Like, what was their diet? What was their like? Did they live a happy lifestyle? Were they like a depressed person? You know what I mean? There's so many other things. It's just like, oh, this person ejaculated this many times. This person did not ejaculate. Here's the thing. I say this all the time, but at least 50% of men, I think even more now, end up with serious prostate issues. Like half of men, probably over half of men, their prostate gets fucked up at some point in life. Clearly, ejaculation is not a really like solid strategy for prostate health. There's way if you're concerned about prostate health, that's not going to be the thing. Okay, we'll just say that. What's good for your prostate is prostate massage. Fantastic. We talked about that earlier. That's wonderful for your prostate. Detoxification, because a lot of heavy metals actually accumulate in the prostate. Cadmium being one of them, which is it's everywhere. It's everywhere. It's an industrial waste. It's in car exhaust, but it's really difficult to get away from it. So like you got to detox this out of you. I've heard that zinc actually, if you get adequate amounts of zinc, it removes the cadmium from the prostate. Not sure if that's true, but I've heard it. Saw palmetto, pygeum bark, stinging nettle root. These are great for your prostate. Get the blood flow into your pelvic floor. And poop squatting. I got a squatty potty. Fantastic. Best investment. I used to like climb up on my toilet and like risk falling over, falling in every time I pooped. But because that's how we were meant to. Countries where they squat to poop, they don't have prostate issues. Very interesting. Maybe there's a connection there. Pop, pop, squat when you poop, boys. It'll keep your prostate healthy. Okay. Yassif says, does marijuana increase overall energy in the chakras? I don't know. I don't know. I I don't have a tool to measure chakra energy. You know what I mean? My experience with marijuana is that it has a very up down effect. Like oftentimes, I haven't smoked weed in a long time. I used to do it every day. Um, and what my more recent experience with it was, which is years ago, um, with my heightened sensitivity, is that everything's intensified for me for like 30 minutes to an hour. And then it's just like a sluggish, so it's like sometimes, yeah, there's a bit of a hit. Everything kind of gets boom, everything's brighter, but there's a huge like drop off. And then I feel numb and like I always felt like hungover the next day. I felt shitty. And my like sex drive was diminished after that. That's why I stopped doing it, because I can get higher without it. So that's my thoughts on that. Just Neil, I taught how to breathe for premature ejaculation earlier in this live stream. So check it out. Check the replay after I finish. And after I finish, but I don't finish, you know what I'm saying? Check that out, and you'll hear me explain exactly how to breathe. Royo says, can orgasm without ejaculation increase sense of humor? Trying to connect the dots on my mind. I mean, yeah, there's a bit of like dot connecting here, but maybe, I mean, here's the thing. If you feel, when you have more experience of like pleasure and like fulfillment in your life, you're probably going to feel more lighthearted and humorous. If you're just like fucking sexually frustrated and you don't experience any pleasure in life, like, fucking, miserable, like you're probably not going to have as good of a sense of humor. But there's many factors to this. So be individual for people. Okay, BB Ball is asking for a brief explanation of what the Multi-Orgasmic Man course entails. Yeah, basically, so it's a 12-week course and it's structured in a certain way. It's structured in a way to prepare your mind and your body and your nervous system to be able to handle tremendous amounts of sexual pleasure and arousal without ejaculating. And the way I do that is beginning with um, various breath work, qigong, mind body trainings, meditations to clear. First, I focus on like clearing out your energetic system, clearing out your blockages, clearing out the tension patterns and the negative self-talk and the stuck negative emotions, like clearing out all the bullshit. It's like, let's weed the garden, let's clear the slate. Then you have something, you have a more clear starting point. And then from there, you learn how to open the energy channels, like start building some chi, get familiar with like what it feels like to circulate. We could say like connect your whole body nervous system. Um, and you also learn how to get really grounded, how to get really like in your body, in your physical being for more confidence and just strength, really. And then this becomes actually a shortcut to being able to work with sexual energy. So like then you learn how to circulate your sexual energy. You learn how to directly work with your aroused energy, how to bring it to teach you how to charge up your organs, charge up your glands, charge up your energy channels with your aroused sexual energy instead of ejaculating, putting you into a state of full body orgasm. And you learn how to exchange your sexual energy with your partner. There's a lot of focus around sexual endurance, building sexual stamina, ejaculation control, pelvic floor work, all kinds of stuff. Basically, it's the complete guide to all the things that I'm teaching. It's a complete guide to A to B, how to get through that. And it's filled with this is a really important thing is that there's practice schedules and routines. So you have a schedule for every single week of the course and really beyond the course for the rest of your life of like, okay, Monday I do this, Tuesday I do this. And there's like short guided videos I've added in different routines. So you're like, okay, I do this today, click the button, hit play, follow along, boom, you've done your practice for that day. You're lit the fuck up. You feel great. You go crush your day. So it's like it's a complete guided process through the system of sexual kung fu. That's what's in Multi-Orgasmic Man. Registration is open right now, and it closes tomorrow, Friday, April 19th at 9 p.m. Pacific time. The link is in my Instagram bio. It's on this description of this YouTube video. Check it out. Rodney, yes, porn definitely desensitizes you. It causes for a lot of men erectile dysfunction because their body's so used to this exaggerated stimulation of like constantly a new video, a new body, a new image. Whereas real life sex isn't as like stimulating in a certain way and you can't get hard anymore. Porn fucks you up. It really does. It really fucks up your arousal response. Yeah, CF says what to do to absorb the female energy. If they can do it, why can't we? Well, you can. Uh, that's what the sexual kung fu practices involve is absorbing your partner's energy. It's kind of higher levels. You absorb your partner's energy and then you send your energy into them. So you exchange and it balances each other, harmonizes your energy, and builds a lot of energy together. Chosen One says, have you looked into the fascia of the human body? It's getting traction these days. Yeah, I've looked into it. Been looking into it for a long time. It's great. It's interesting. It's fascinating. I don't talk about it too much because there's so many people talking about it, and I think people kind of get hung up on like everything's because of fascia. Oh, like you know what I mean? But it is. I see fascia as almost like this intermediary between physical and energetic because the fascia system really does correlate in some ways to the meridian system, the meridians. And there's different like nodal points. Um, yeah, and like having fascial restrictions. I had this shoulder thing a while ago that was I used to play guitar for hours and hours a day. That was like my practice was just fucking shredding the guitar. And I was having shoulder issues. And I went to all these different people. Someone was like, oh, you have bursitis. Oh, your rotator cuff's messed up. And nothing helped. And then I went to this person that worked fascia, like, oh, you have this like constriction here. And they worked it out. And like, what do you know? My shoulder felt fucking great after that. So yeah, it's if you have like body stuff, aches and pains and stiffness, like, and you don't know about fascia, like you should definitely look into it. I recently did a whole session of Rolfing with some amazing people who do this work in Asheville here, and it was great. It was fantastic, but it didn't do everything. You know what I mean? All right, last thing here. Twisted Reality says, "Can you tell me more about the orgasm that was like a psychedelic trip?" Well, I've had many of these. I'm not sure which one, but one that comes to mind. Um, I was having. We were we were in the bedroom. The lights were low. A cool summer breeze floated in. The candles were lit with a a, a glimmering a glimmering light on our soft, sweaty, sweat beaded bodies. And as I ravaged her soft flesh, um, so we're having sex, and all of a sudden, energy's going up my spine. I'm having an intense pleasure up my spine, and put me into a deeply altered state. Like, when I used to do psychedelics. Okay, there was a time in my life when I had long hair. I ate tofu and I did psychedelic drugs. I'm not trying to offend anyone, but there was a time though. So I had my fair share of psychedelic experiences, and it felt like when the mushrooms are starting to hit, and it's like, oh shit, like whoa, things just get a little more vibey. The walls start talking to you. Sounds are more echoey in your mind. Everything starts to breathe. I started feeling that. I'm like, oh shit, like this is very interesting, and like the pleasure in my body was immense, and just intensified and intensified, and it started to feel like there was this column of energy, just this. I think what was happening is, I've heard Bruce Francis describe this, to where you and your partner's central channels start to merge, and then it creates a third central channel. And it's interesting reading about in a book, but then it starts to happen. You're like, holy fuck, this is crazy. It's just like in this like massive vortex, and it felt like I was like flying through outer space, just like hyperspace is what it felt like. It was very, very intense, and there was this feeling of like, this is gonna sound fucking weird, but it felt like there was like a bunch of like beings present. Like I was being watched, like almost like this audience that was just like just beyond this barrier of this central channel we had created, this just fucking vortex. And it was super intense. Deep, deep emotion, deep feeling, deep intensity, just you know, and the psychedelic hyperspace. And that went on for a while. And it lasted, even after we finished having sex, it was I was still just in this like these pulsations of like resonant, intense consciousness is the only way I can really explain it. So yeah, that can happen when you do sexual kung fu. All right. Well, seems like a good BB Wall says that just gave me anxiety. It's intense. I had a little anxiety during it. Then I grounded. I was like, okay, we're cool. I got this. Like, because I had to realize like, oh, I have to like fucking, I'm attracting something into this space. We're blasting through the dimensional walls here. Like, okay, that's when I realized I got to set up this container, manage my energy field, because I'm out to fucking Pluto right now, and there's all these things floating around here, strange astral beings. I don't know what the hell it was, but I like kind of managed my belt channel, this container of energy, and I was like, okay, this is our space. We're cool. Nothing's coming through here. Got this. Very interesting experience. Okay, guys, kind of music matter during sex? I already answered this, but whatever helps you feel sensual is great. I don't always listen to music when I'm having sex. Crank that Marvin Gaye sexual healing. You know what I'm saying? All right, guys, thanks for joining. It's been good. Once again, Multi Orgasmic Man is open for one more day tomorrow, April 19th at 9 p.m. Pacific. Registration closes, so you've got just over a day to get in. Complete guide to sexual mastery, massive amounts of material, like massive amounts of support material. When you have it, if you purchase it, you have it for life. It's a lifelong training of sexual mastery. So check that out, and I will see you guys next time. Keep it real out there.